Hello. So let me just double check this. Yeah, cool. Okay. So yeah, welcome back. Yesterday we were just working away on our tune here. This is Jam One, working title. But yeah, basically, look, what we did was we had the initial idea from the tune the other day, and that was cool. There are definitely a lot of stuff there that can be changed, but I think like when it comes to this kind of music, like a lot of it comes down to say choosing like your sounds, and a lot of the patterns and stuff you're going to use are going to be done already. Like like house music is essentially like 1, 2, 3, 4, four to the floor, then clap on a 2 and 4, and then an offbeat hi hat. Like that's synonymous pattern with house, and lots of different genres of electronic music all have their own kind of distinct beats and sounds, and that kind of thing, which define it as the genre itself. Now there's obviously like you can totally turn that on its head and it's still call it house, like but one thing I would say is that like anything that we've done so far here, like once it's in the arrangement, everything is liable to change. Now probably not too much, like because I suppose when you're making, I've been making tunes for like geez, since I was like, we're talking over 12 years anyway, and like I kind of know at this point like what's going to stay and what's not. But like beginners or people who are only at it for a few months or whatever, like they could like delete a full instrument from the track like near the end of it, and that stuff, those decisions, those kind of brash decisions, they don't get made too much anymore by me anyway. But look, you'll see yourselves if you watch this whole stream. You'll see how it ends up and where it is right now. So yeah, and to be honest, it's been one of those things where you really have to kind of get over any insecurities you have when you're doing something like this, because like everyone's insecure about their music that they make, like to a certain degree. Like there's always going to be a kind of, oh, I'm showing this to somebody, and oh, I hope they like it kind of thing. Whereas doing it on a stream is about as kind of, it's about the polar opposite of that, really, because you're letting them into the creative process rather than just showing them the finished product. So you're leaving yourself open to criticism before the song is even completed, which is fine. I welcome it, to be honest. If anyone has any critiques or anything like that, I'm ready to hear it. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to power on like this, and maybe when we finished it, I might edit together like a 5-minute version of all of the streams, like but again, I don't want to put a time limit on this either, because like you can't really do that. It's good in a way to have deadlines to work to, but at the same time, if your tune isn't ready by the deadline, then it's not ready. Like, so that's, you just have to take all of those kind of things. There's no hard and fast rules to any of this. A lot of it will come down to like discipline and motivation on the day and all that kind of stuff. Plus, then obviously the huge factor of happy accidents, which essentially make your tune what it is, like, or for me anyway, like I can do a lot of stuff like every song, and then something will come along randomly and it either gets added to the arsenal, or it's something that's so unique it becomes the hook of the tune or the melody or the lead or something like that. So look, what I'll do is I will just do a quick run through. I'm kind of conscious of like just muting the mic and talking away for at the start, say, and then like muting it and then stopping any communication until the very end. But to be honest, there's so much to this that I kind of think it's, again, pretty insightful to see how it's done, like as opposed to like someone who just stops every 30 seconds and kind of talks about something. Like there has to be that bit of flow, and you're not going to get that from kind of talking through the entire process. So but by all accounts, if there's any comments or anything like that, I'd love to hear them. So just to do a brief kind of run through the project itself again. So we have our drums there. As you can hear, there's a bit of room reverb on that, a bit too much maybe. It's quite dry. You can hear it there. I'm kind of hearing it on the kick, really. Okay. So that's our drums. As I said before, the 909 plugin by Roland. I'm not going to bother clicking on it, trying to open it here, because chances are it'll just give me the spinning wheel of whatever you want to call it. So the next thing I have here is I got this lovely sample of a kick. Like on its own, it's, you know, it kind of is thumpy, gives a lot of body to my sounds. Now the one thing I did find was I had to flip the phase because it was phasing with my 909 kick in the low end, even when I had a kind of high pass. So the utility on here is literally just phasing it, and I threw it on mono. It's mono already, and it probably just sounds like me talking, you know, shite. But basically, look, sometimes I find when you drop a utility onto your or onto a channel, right, and it's a mono channel already, the width factor that comes into it when you select mono, it can kind of make it like more mono than mono, which doesn't make sense, right? But say if you're recording something like a bass guitar DI direct in, you might get a bit of noise off it, you know. And one thing that I noticed that is the noise can be like, despite your signal being a center signal in your stereo field, you might find that sometimes the noises can actually go out further left and right than the actual signal from the instrument itself there, or at least it's like a perception that I have of it anyway. Not that it is literally happening, because it's a mono signal, it can't really do that, but it's a perception I have. So what I do is I tend to mono this, and it makes it monoer than mono, if you get me, which, you know, I know this makes no sense, but it's something I do. The phase flipping had to be done. I'll show it to you without it here. So this is it, like with the 909 kick. Okay, thumpy enough. If I turn this off, it kind of sounds a bit, it's pretty nice too. It's thumpy enough. On, I think it's just cleaner, just gets the job done, you know, in the mix anyway. But this is a nice sample, like, to layer on top of a 909. 909 has that kind of solid kind of chunkiness, whereas this just has like a thump. Together they kind of are full, and was how I put it. But yeah, so the rest of the drums are pretty straightforward, just hats, clap off the 909, clap off the 808, and yeah, that's our drums. Cool. Okay, next thing is our bass stuff. So what I do is group some of these tracks here. A bit of housekeeping is no harm. I'm just gonna call that bass. So we have our kind of our dum, which is coming from Anna 2 Sonic Academy. Very cool, part of the Slate Digital All Access Pass. One of those unexpected features of the actual Access Pass that I was like, ooh, this is cool. Same with Kilohertz. I didn't know what they were, or hadn't heard of them, and then I was like, yeah, this is class. Cool. Next one is the actual 303, which this will be mapped eventually. Yeah, so the thing with that now is I will, like, you'll see when I get to the arrangement, it comes into like creating this subtle variation and like opening up of filters and rolling them off and stuff like that, and it's just all with the intention of creating ups and downs, or, you know, whoop, the old camera. So just a bit of tension, bit of release, bit of kind of a structure to it, you know. So when it's in a build up, kind of open the filters. Again, look, I'll get to that. Better actually see that in real life, or even via stream, say. But better off to see that being done rather than talking about it. It's just a waste of time. The M1 here is, what do you got? Ah, yeah, our choir. So I'm going to name this choir. And Rhodes, I might move this here. So again, if anyone's thinking, God, this is so loopy, you're right, it is. But the variation comes later. For me anyway. I call this filtered strings, so just so you have an idea. I kind of know what they are just from looking at them. I'm used to not labeling stuff because I kind of know what it's going to be, unless it's something random enough. But this is the actual strings. And we have, this was the M1, but it's like a stab. I call that M1 high stab. Make it as. And then this one we have the broken chord, which is The minor 9, C sharp minor 9 broken chord, descending, and courtesy of the chord bot by Isla as well. I did not play that in. I merely ran my finger down this strip, which basically is, I'll actually have to do a demo of my setup, to be honest, so that you can all kind of see what I'm talking about. But yeah, chord bot again, I've talked about it before, but just, oh, what a lovely toy, you know. One of those things, just someone got around to inventing it, thankfully, and it is just worth everything, especially if you're into composition as well as just kind of fooling around with nice jazz chords and voicings of it. Like, you know, the composition stuff it can do with this chord suggestion mode, which uses all of the kind of rules of Western harmony to provide you with the next chord to play. I know it comes across as cheating, but, you know, like, you know, it does and it doesn't. It is cheating in a sense that, like, you could get away with not knowing any theory and doing it, but I suppose if you do kind of know what you're doing and you're just applying that instrument to it, it's no different to, you know, using Sibelius or some kind of composition or arranging software. But yeah, so we have that going, and yeah, pretty much all kind of, I'm just going to play a bit of the strings here. Yeah, like that's just a filters, auto filter, I believe, the Ableton one. Yeah. And strings, which is just kind of a, again, these are mostly Roland Cloud instruments here. The only thing that isn't Roland Cloud is the M1 stuff and the ANA 2. The rest, everything else is Roland Cloud, drums, all that. Now what I might do in a second is bust out some bongo action. Looking forward to that, but again, I might leave that to the arrangement. So yeah, so look, we're in 10 minutes now at this stage. What I'll do is I'll lose the headphones and I will just start, and I might check the chat if there's any action there. I'll come back to it, but if not, I'm probably just going to power through and see how much we can get done in the next 40 to 50 minutes. Also, my granny wanders in the middle of this, so yeah, beware wandering grannies. I shouldn't have to go out in the middle of it, but you know how it is. So yeah, let's rock on. Right. Just turn this down. So, just what I'm doing there at the minute was just kind of finishing off like the idea I have for the arrangement. Now, again, we're totally in the live view here at the moment, so it's not arranged. But what you can do in Ableton here, right, and you probably noticed this already, is coming down the right hand side here. I have basically structured my song. So like when I press on this will be my intro. Now, like this is just comprises of several loops. None of them are that long. Like I think 8 bars is probably the length of most, if not 4. Now, the idea with this is you loop this for as long as you want at the intro. Now, what I've got in the next few here are all kind of like my intro pattern being developed upon, and then eventually it builds to a breakdown. That breakdown then builds up. That goes to what I've affectionately call unts 1, which is like the first time there's like a full whack of all of the elements together. Well, in this case they're not all together, but it's kind of, it builds again. So essentially it's like start with very little, build it up, break it down, build it up again, let it groove for a while, and this section groove again, then another build kind of breakdown scenario, and then last one then will be just the this is just going to be the section that kind of leads to the outro. Now again, like all of this is liable to change, but the way I make my arrangement here, right, is I'll actually play the loops and let them groove away for as long as I want. Now I'll be keeping an eye on these circles here, because these fill up every time the phrase ends. So if you've got like a 4-bar phrase, when it gets to the end of 4 bars, it starts again and again, Now it has like these handy numbers here as well, so it kind of keeps you in the groove as well as this stuff. So just, you can't really lose your kind of place in the profile in the arrangement too easily. So yeah, I'm just gonna groove away. I'm gonna do it all on the APC 40. You won't see this because I'm not gonna flip the camera down, but I will be doing a full kind of run through my gear and my setup and all that stuff soon. So look, I'm gonna just jam this out here, and I will see how it goes. Two, one. Now, okay. So yeah, so that was the arrangement there, right? So the concept of just arranging via the APC 40, it's straightforward, like, you know, like you just move your way down. Sorry, I keep command tabbing. Tab just to go back and forth from these two views. So yeah, so like, look, that's it. Basically all I did was I ran down the whole thing and I left the groove away for a while. Now, what I didn't do properly was arrange the last bit here, because there should be a bit of a build rather than just straight into the groove section here, right? So that's something I'd have to just kind of build into, or copy and paste the section and bring it in there, right? Now, again, this is all very just rough, right? Because I think the way I like to work is I like to come up with the groove in the live view, and that's brilliant because it just allows you to keep adding loops and adding loops and adding loops in the most user-friendly way. And then eventually you're going to be like, I added too much, or yeah, that's enough, you know, and then you just get rid of them or lay it down in your arrangement. Now, there's so much more to be done in the arrangement, and the arrangement, in my opinion, is when the work starts, because the live view is just so much fun and creative, and you're just like, whoa, this is deadly. And then, you know, all of a sudden you're like, okay, I've got a cool idea here, but I need to arrange it into something that sounds like a real track, like, you know, so you need to dicky it up a bit to make it sound nice. Otherwise it just sounds like every other Ableton groove that you've ever heard, you know. But look, we'll get to that again, all in good time here. An hour a day is a good way of doing things, because to be honest, I haven't been making tunes outside of the hour that I've been doing the stream. So in a way, it's actually been very good for me to just, okay, I need to get as much done in an hour, and that's it. Move, just no more for the rest of the day. And that's a lot less than I would usually have done. Like if I was focusing on actually making my own music, which this considered I will, you know, I surely might make an EP or something, but like I'd usually start at 1 p.m, go till 5 p.m, and that's it. Like, you know, that's how I kind of work. But at the moment, because of I want to do the streams, I'm kind of enjoying only putting an hour into it. 'Cause it's a bit of a prep before and after. I guess there's a bit of kind of housework to be done, you know, or housekeeping even afterwards, you know, like uploading it to YouTube and clipping a bit for social media and all the rest, right? So there's a bit of work involved that isn't all pure creativity, like. But getting to the arrangement, in my opinion, is a good thing, because you settled on the idea of what your song is. You know what the song is. You just need to just make it get across, you know. So you need to have, like, you have your idea on, you know, the song is in your head. You're going to be like, this is cool. This is what I want. But now you need to think outside of your own head for a few minutes. So start to think of this as like, okay, I'm showing someone this song. Now, not that you're like, no, don't jump down my neck in that, like, you know, oh, make music for yourself, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, absolutely. But like this part, for me, it's good to put myself into the headspace of, say, another listener. So I'm like, all right, because when you finish the arrangement, or like the live session, you're basically, you've peaked your song, you know what I mean? Like, you're like, okay, this is when we're going full hell for leather, this is what it sounds like. And getting that through creating the song over a space of time, a couple hours or whatever, is great. But you need to get that level of, okay, this is cool. You need to get that across to somebody else via your arrangement, you know. So that's the way I think of it, and that's why it's so hard and less fun. Now, don't get me wrong, I still love doing all this stuff, but like, if you were to say to me, all you have to do for the rest of your life is make up loops in the live session and have the crack, we'll make you, you know, that'll establish you as an artist, I'd be like, class, you know, happy days. But then it's like, okay, you have to do arrangements as well. It's like, okay, yeah, well, that's where the time comes into it and all the rest. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to enable this site. So you'll see this little fella here, and that gets us working in this view now, right? So what I'll do is I'll just close all this stuff down for a second so we know what we're looking at. Okay, now part of this went awful. So the first part, 16 bars, I think is actually pretty cool. I'm going to throw on my headphones and talk through this part. 1 second now. Okay, and I'm going to turn my master down here a little bit so that you can hear Now, okay. So you don't want to give away too much in the intro, because anyone who's not a DJ or has not heard any music like similar to this, the first minute to a minute and a half of like DJ music, which is I don't know if that'd be the right, I mean, I've heard it called that, I don't know what I think of that, but you know, essentially it's music that DJs will more than likely be playing commercially, say, or you know. Bottom line, I suppose, is they all have an intro for beat matching, which can be a minute to a minute and a half. I don't really like to go more than a minute, because just like, you know, get to the point. Like, even despite extended mix rules or whatever, just, you know, like, just come on, a minute and a half, 2.5 minutes intro. A lot of the time you're like, come on, this is just get to it. So what we'll do is we have a minute marker here. I think this goes to our break. No, it doesn't. It goes to a groove, so our break's probably here. So I won't name anything in between. Actually, do you know what I usually do? Sorry, I do this. Bass line. I usually tend to just bass line when that comes in. Bass keeps going. This drops out for some reason here. Probably just forgot to put it in. So let this work away. I can see a couple of things up here already that are just, you know, essentially I'm looking at these grey, dark grey, you know, light grey, dark grey, light grey, dark grey. They're every 8, what is it? I'm trying to see here now. Changes as 16 bar phrases. So this music tends to be based upon these kind of phrase markings as well, which is, you know, like you're not going to have an even amount of bars in a house track. It would just be weird. Just disorientate the listeners and also make life difficult for a DJ. Which, you know, shouldn't necessarily be your priority as far as, like, you know, creating something unique and all that, but at the same time there's kind of like certain standards to this that you just may as well adhere to, or else you're being just pointlessly awkward. But, you know, save the obscure bar lengths for another song or type of tune, in my opinion. Okay, so I have our break here. Strings start coming in. This goes to a breakdown, if I'm not mistaken, then. Yeah. Now, this shouldn't be long. I'd say it's already too long. To be honest, I'd say this half could go. Yeah, I'm going to dump this. And because this breakdown is like, you know, people are hearing this kind of tune. Just to explain it right, this kind of track now, you might play kind of early in the night, you know, if you're DJing it. And things to bear in mind of that are, if there's like 10 people in an absolutely massive venue, and like, you know, you play a breakdown and there's no groove, people just get like, you know, they get like, this guy's weird, like, what's he playing this for? So like, you know, by all means have breakdowns early in your DJ set, but I will say they do have a massive effect on the atmosphere. So just bearing that in mind, that's just my experience of actually DJing, kind of talking there as well. Like, you know, like I'd always have avoided any tracks that had major breakdowns when I knew there was not going to be anyone there. So yeah, this is just a little tiny breakdown, so it's just enough to kind of make a bit of variation in the track, or at least that's how I'm thinking here anyway, you know. And we're just going to make all of these kind of a nice 16 bars. Like, they might be a little bit longer, a little bit shorter, but they'll all just be multiples of 4, and we'll tend to, let's see here what happens here actually. Okay, now that build, we're without drums for a solid minute there, you know. Bring up the brightness on this. So yeah, see the bottom here, I'm just checking the time, so like 1:45 to approximately 2:30. It's not too bad, I guess. Oh, sorry, actually, no, it's 1:30 to 2:30. Yeah, it's a full minute. Could be interesting to just drop a kick in here, Joe. I might actually just do that. Put in the kick. Don't have the 909. Our 808s are, I would say, slightly annoying there. Yeah, this could be a cool way of doing things. We'll say this is unts 1 then. Now that changes there disappointingly, so I'm going to There's certain kind of like ooh to this. And then when this comes in, it's just underwhelming. So we'll get to that. Certain energy tricks and tips that I'll be giving you anyway, which until we have a solid arrangement, to be honest with you, we're just wasting our time. Yeah, what actually drops out there? Like, it's probably I'm getting rid of those bongos there. To be honest, the rhythm in that, I don't know, I might have to revisit it, but I like it when the groove is going, but it's the second the breakdown comes in, it's just kind of, you feel like you're getting dizzy listening to it. So I'm going to just drop this in. We'll just see what's exactly missing here, and no harm whatsoever to take out the last kick. Just, it's one beat that's missing, and it just gives that tiny bit of a phrase marking kind of emphasis fill kind of. That's the job it's doing. The Rhodes drops out, so that's the problem with it. Let's see, we might have to change the Rhodes up for a few bits. Again, there's all the subtle variation tricks that we're going to get to, but yeah, that's cool. I like that. We'll get to putting in crashes, risers, any impact effects, which we won't be using samples. I'll be making all of these. Probably just try to use an operator, to be honest. Find people that are kind of like obsessed with risers and impacts, and they're great, but like, you know, without the actual tune causing its own tension and release, a riser is just a riser. It's just like, okay, here's a song and here comes the part where it goes like this is just lit, you know. So like, really has to be part of the song for the whole tune, then it rises, you know. That's how I look at it. But again, get to that. So it's grooving away here. Here comes the 808. So I might put in like groove on. Groove continued, we'll do that. Okay, I feel like this. Where are we at? Get to here. Yeah. Don't want this tune to be any more than about 6.5 minutes, to be honest. So I'll just move this along for a sec. Correct my phrase error when I was arranging this. Do it before. There we go. Just makes a bit more sense. Actually, you know, how long is that grooving for? A minute? Might want another bit. Like you can kind of, when you've been doing it this long, like you can kind of just say, oh, I know this part's just not going on long enough if it's a minute. Because lots of DJing will really help you learn how to produce electronic music, or not necessarily even gigging, but just, you know, playing with a controller for the crack. Even using virtual DJ with no controller. That's where we all started. Okay, now this is definitely where it has to break. I think this break is going to have to be very short as well. It's going to be a dubby number, as the famous Greg Dowling would say. Do that, and then copy and paste this. It's going to be just way too long, but yeah, okay. Now we're up to 6 and a bit there, so what we'll do is delete that. It's a dubby track, so you know, DJ's choice as far as ending this tune goes. I wouldn't be cutting it too long, too short. This is a real viber, like for early in your set. Now it's quite up tempo though, I would say that. So you might be talking like a techno night where it's going to be, you know, 130 minimum, or at least maybe 140 when the headliner comes on. You might drop this in the first half an hour, like, you know, that's kind of, I guess that's kind of where I'd see it being played anyway. That's DJ intuition, I guess. Okay. So yeah, pretty happy with that arrangement. Just drop it from the start. That kick sample is great. I think one of my friends just sent it to me. Yeah, some cool stuff there. Here, come in now. Yeah, so things you're probably thinking right now, especially if you're watching the arrangement go by, which you more than likely are. But every section is very sudden, you know. Like now, phrasing wise, it's all right, you know. 4 bars, 8 bars, 16 bars, you know. It's all standard enough stuff as far as phrasing your tune goes. But, and like, you know, kind of you'd expect a change to come at 4 bars and all that. But you do really have to put the effort in to make it more interesting, particularly when it's such a loopy track, you know, and genre. So the subtle variation that we'll be getting into next stream tomorrow, actually, now that we've got the arrangement, it's into, you know, hard work, I guess you call it. But also kind of the more satisfying stuff happens as well, where you start to come up with like cool drum fills or different kind of things. But yeah, I think we're close to time here, so I'll let it play out for another bit. I'm going to turn it up a good bit, back up to 0 dB, so mind your speakers. Yeah, that's cool. Don't think there's anything else major here now for today. Have to say I'm loving the old saturator on Ascend. It's a new thing for me anyway, and it is very, very cool. Like the second you have a sound that you can identify as like, oh yeah, that's not quite ready. That's where you'd be kind of like, right, saturation time. Now a couple of things like you can do with that just to, before we go, a little bit of a high pass would be no harm, because chances are any sub frequencies that are coming in from the kick or bass or anything like that are generating some inaudible low sub frequencies, so you know you may as well high pass them. I suppose that's a habit I got into from doing live sound. It's just high pass everything, you know. Everything say bar, like if you're doing a conventional band lineup, you know, you'd have your full drum kit there. Everything is getting high pass there, bar the kick. Maybe the floor toms. The way I have it in my head is like, now look, on paper people will always be like, oh, use your ears, you know, and just get it to this, blah blah blah, and like, yeah, fair enough, you're right, you are right. But sometimes using your ears, like your ears can lie to you a bit, and like sometimes the monitoring system you're on or whatever are totally telling you lies. So basically, like, I've got some general rules that I apply to these. Anything that like kick or bass, nothing else is below 100 hertz, except for the occasional instrument, for example a tom or maybe a keyboard if it's a solo keyboard anyway. But those ones you'd high pass at 85. I say in my head, I'm like, right, if this sound has a bit of body to it, which would be translated to full frequency spectrum coverage, then high passing to 100 might take away a bit of the life out of it. So 85 tends to be kind of like my happy place. But again, use your ears, you know, just can't have to emphasize that too. No hard and fast rules, use your ears. But that being said, 85 hertz, not bad. 100 for everything else. Keyboards, to be honest, like if I'm doing a live gig, a keyboard is getting like brutally high passed a lot of the time because they're just so dynamic. Now you can control that with a compressor and all that, but honestly, sometimes just get rid of it. Like, you know, bass guitar is doing a lot of the work down below there, especially if there's a kick going on as well. So, you know, I'd be very, very skeptical of anything low going on in a keyboard. All depends on how good your players are as well. But yeah, so the high passing, that goes for most stuff. Again, we'll get to the mixing part of this eventually as well. So, you know, if you feel like it's, you know, you want to see what the finished product is, like you will eventually, but, you know, there's no such thing as the finished product without the actual work put in at this point. So, yeah, I hope everyone likes it. As I said, look, if you do really like the streams and the format of it, be sure to just share it or tell people about it or check out the Patreon. But if you have any feedback, if you're an experienced beat maker yourself or a tutor or anything like that, I'd absolutely love to take some criticisms and just suggestions, or even people who are experienced Twitch heads. Yeah, by all accounts, let me hear anything you have, any suggestions. But yeah, that's it for today, and we'll be back tomorrow at 3 o'clock, the usual time. Bye bye.